Today we're here with one of Australia's biggest celebrity managers, from taking Bill Clinton around Australia to organising events with Nelson Mandela. Max, you've reached the highest level in your field of work and you've raised over $40 million for charity. Thank you for coming on today.
I'm really pleased, and it's my pleasure.
And something we have in common is you've been to an Olympics and your dad was a diver.
Correct. It's pretty good, that, isn't it?
Yeah, small world.
My Olympics were big.
Yeah?
Yeah.
2000.
2000 Olympics. I was in, not sport, but I was doing publicity for the Australian team. It was a privilege and just amazing.
Those accreditations are very hard to get. How did you actually get onto the Olympic team as a manager?
I wasn't managing people. I was the assistant media person for the whole Olympics, and I got to go to 14 of the 16 gold medals, and I was going everywhere, looking after athletes and looking after the winners. It's
such a unique role because I know even drug testers, once you make an Olympics, you've got a drug tester that follows you around until you get tested. And similar, when you win a medal at a major event, you have someone that follows you around. And I feel like that person that goes with you after you've made a team or won a medal gets the most raw experience of what an Olympic experience is like. You follow them around. What was that like, being with those Olympic gold medalists?
I was literally with them when they won Olympic gold medals. I was with some of them beforehand because I'd been managing a few of them, and one of them was the guy who'd won back-to-back Olympic gold medals in the bang bang in shooting, and I was with him in 2000 when he won his gold medal, and this is Michael Diamond we're talking about, and I'm standing between his mother and the guy who was the Prime Minister of Australia. So he rushed over once he'd won his gold medal, and he applauded his mother and gave her a cuddle, and then thanked me. And I said, no, you've got to thank this one. He's the Prime Minister.
You were probably going to do stuff for him long term in his career after that. It would have been just the beginning.
Well, I looked after him from 1996.
Wow.
And so that's when I started representing him. And I'm still mates with him now.
And I heard you got into events because your dad was a diver. You'd go along to the events and they inspired you?
My dad was a high diver, and you can play some video of it, obviously, if you want.
I've said, I cannot believe, because I don't know nearly any divers from that long ago, and just so happened your dad was one of them.
He was a diver. And we had an aqua show, which is like an ice show, but in water, with synchronized swimmers and divers. And I grew up, I was on the spotlight. I was like a kid, like 5 or 6 years old, right? And I'd fall asleep. But that was my life. And then I got into, with my dad, bill posting illegally. Right? And my dad would do we'd have a boat, and he'd put the posters up on the boat. I think it was a tax deduction, and we did promote the aqua show during those years. And then my dad died when I was 15 years old, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear.
But I still have pleasure from him, and I got the video of him diving when I was like 10, 12 years ago. So this is like when I'm in 50 odd, whatever. And so all of a sudden, I get to see my dad diving from 1947. And I'd never seen him dive properly because he'd retired by that stage and he was just promoting his aqua show.
Wow. And they do this crazy dive where one of them runs off 10 meters, the other one grabs his legs and follows him down. Like, that would not be allowed today. That was hectic.
It was. And I still do those when I'm in my swimming pool at home. I'll do the, the little thing on there, and I do the...
all the movements?
All the movements. Yeah. They're comedy movements when I'm doing those.
In fact, that really set you up for show business.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate. I'm lucky. And I think of that with my work as well.
So you've been quite a talent yourself. Why did you go into talent management instead of being talent and pushing your
I
stuff?
failed as a comedian when I was about 18.
So you tried?
I failed. I tried to do some stand-up comedy.
Yep.
I did this one gig. This ain't going to work for me. I'm not funny, right? And anyway, so I've been managing. I've been putting people on. I promoted pop groups and BBC Radio 1 disc jockeys, and I was doing promotions, and that was from when I was 17 years old. And I did that till I was 21, all over the country. And then I came to Australia for a holiday, and I've been here ever since.
You loved it.
I was very fortunate. I found this country, and my brother told me I should come here for a holiday, and I've stayed. And I open up doing selling things for the federal election of 1977. That's 50 odd years ago. And then I opened a nightclub called the Zoo, and I was the head zookeeper. And I'd put on.
Did you have a nightclub?
I had a nightclub.
Do you still have it?
No.
Okay.
That was when I was like 20, right? And I ran that for 2 years. But I had celebrities as guest DJs at the nightclub. Right?
So you've been working with celebrities nearly your whole life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think of it like that. But I mean, I worked at after that. I worked at 2WS, the radio station, for a couple of years, and then I started my business in 1982, and that's 42 years ago. And that's and I started looking after celebrities, but I didn't manage them then. I was just getting them to come along to my events and things like that. And then I started managing celebrities in 1988, and I was just looking after a few people, like 3 celebrities, right? And I couldn't earn any money for them at all, so I wouldn't charge them commission, right? And then in 1990, I looked after Jane Fleming, who was Olympian and dual gold medalist in the Commonwealth Games. And then I started managing celebrities as well. So that's when I really started properly.
And started making them money.
Yeah. I actually had 4 I actually looked after the 4 swimmers in the 86 Commonwealth Games. And they were the mean machine, they were known as.
Yep.
And there were 4 swimmers, and they were fast. And I looked after them, and I got a TV commercial for them. And they got paid 50 grand, and I'm on 20%, so I got my 10 grand, and they all got 10 grand each.
And that would have been much bigger money back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I asked the then boss of Australian swimming, and I said, what are they doing? They've won these gold medals, but they've stopped training, stopped competing, and they gave it all away, really. I mean, once you get to the top of a mountain, there's only one way, and it's down, unfortunately.
There's different ways you could go about it, though. There was one Olympic champion I know, and he spoke to us as junior athletes, and he said when he won the Olympics, it was the best thing ever, lived up to all his expectations, and then he got a little bit sad and a little bit depressed, and he said to his coach, like, I don't know what to do, and his coach said, well, you do it again. You set a new goal, and then they keep moving forward. I feel like when you have a goal and you achieve it, then you just don't set another one, then you maybe plateau. And
maybe I paid them too much money.
But yeah, I feel like when you always set new goals, though, you keep striving.
I agree to that, and I think the future. If you follow the future, you'll always find somewhere else to go.
Mm. Yeah, I heard a quote you said about you look back at the past but never stare.
Exactly. Never stare. Just, you can glimpse, but just keep going forward. And I still keep working today. I believe in it. I believe in working, and it's fun, and you enjoy it, and I love the challenge.
Yeah, I can definitely see how much fun you have with it. When you went from managing your first people and not making them an income to making people a massive income through management, what did you change and learn during that period of time?
I didn't change much for the first 2 years because obviously I didn't earn any money. Yeah. And then I guess you just see opportunities. And I think It's seeing opportunities. And even to this day, I look and find opportunities. And I used to say, you can read the newspaper every day, and there'll be opportunities there. There'll be things you can do, but you've got to read the paper, and you've got to see things, and you've got to find an angle. It's always about finding the angle.
Because, when you just, I suppose, an employee and you have a job and you turn up and you do your tasks, you can understand what you do. But when you work for yourself in PR, the path may never be clear. Is that how you always look for the opportunities?
I always, if I can't do something, I tell people. Like if someone approaches me and they want to promote a product, if I can see an angle on it, then I say yes. But if I can't see any angle on it, I literally say, look, I can't help you.
No can do.
And I do that with celebrities as well. I mean, I did it 2 days ago. Somebody rang up and they wanted me to have a meeting and to get them speaking engagements. And I said, I really don't think I can do anything for you. But I recommended 5 other companies that could do it. I said, I'm not your man.
Yeah.
And I say that often. I say, I'm just not the person for you.
And you do management, but you also do events. Have you always done those two together, or did you start one before the other?
I've done celebrity management, I've done public relations and events.
Oh, okay.
So I've got 3 sets. And the events, I was very privileged to host Nelson Mandela, President Clinton, President Bush Sr., Rudy Giuliani, Al Gore, Tony Blair, Mike Tyson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pele. I've had an incredible career, and I'm blessed in that sense. And I've always found an event that I can do. I think now I'm happy just to do publicity. I mean, but then again, if there's something that I can afford, because now the people are just charging miles too much money for to come into the country from overseas, especially. But if someone's really good, I'll pay them the money.
So when it comes to wanting to bring Bill Clinton to Australia, where do you even start?
I started by reaching out to President Clinton.
Okay.
And then
busy email box, that one?
And then it was going to be, it was $450,000 for 3 engagements. And that was
US,
sorry, okay. Of course. And that was the 8th, 9th and 10th of September 2001. So I didn't have the 450,000 US because at the time it was like $2 for every dollar, so it was 900,000 Australian. So for the Children's Hospital at Westmead, I rang up a friend of mine and asked him if he could lend me the money, and I'd give it him back, obviously, right? And I needed it for the Children's Hospital, and we finished up clearing $1.2 million profit for the Children's Hospital. So wow. That was after I'd paid back the $900,000 and all that sort of stuff. And then I did a function for the Labour Party, and I got them to put the money up, and I charged a fee, and they grossed 40 people paid $50,000 each, so they got $2 million in for that.
Wow!
This is in 2001, and then in Melbourne, I sold President Clinton to another promoter, who not promoter, but they're businessmen, and they sold 30 tickets at $20,000 each. And then on the 11th of September 2001, it was 9/11. So
you were with Bill Clinton when 9/11 happened.
Correct. So my phone starts going crazy because it's 9 o'clock in the morning there, and it's 11 o'clock at night here, and so I rang up. So President Clinton got closed down from where he was up in North Queensland, and the President Bush Jr. had to sign a special order for a military jet to come and pick from Guam to pick him up, put President Clinton up, flew from Guam to North Queensland and flew him back to America. So then I found myself, I wanted to bring him back. So, of course. So,
was he finished his job, or was this halfway through a job?
No, he's no longer president. He finished in January.
Oh, but was he finished the job with you at the time?
Yeah, he'd finished my job.
Oh, okay.
Right, but he was cancelled going to wherever else he was going.
Yep.
Anyway, I brought him back in February and had him do 5 engagements in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney.
How do you promote an event like that?
You sell tickets.
Yeah.
You promote the person.
Yeah.
And charge a lot of money for them because it's President Clinton. And you pack out.
So you get someone in, you get them to give a talk. What do they even normally talk about?
They normally do, well, what they often do, and I often organise this even more professionally now, is they should do a speaking engagement, but they speak for half an hour, depends how long you can get them for, and they do photos. So they do a photo line. And for that, for President Clinton, we charge $25,000 for a table of 10. For the normal tables, we charge $10,000 for a table of 10. So they, obviously, limited number of people can have their photos taken with him. So that's one. And then the $10,000 tables are cheaper for what it's expensive, right? And then you sell tickets to that. So that, and then you also, if you're doing a charity event, you should do a live auction. I'm teaching this now. Now you can learn.
Okay, yeah, no, I find it's fascinating.
So you can do a live auction where you might sell 10 or 15 prizes, and they should be expensive prizes, and an auctioneer does that.
When it's an auction and a prize, do they know the value of it? And like, how do you get them to pay for it without undervaluing the prize and getting more than what you're giving away?
What I often do is I buy things from auctions, right? So I might spend $5,000 or $6,000 on buying a Bradman signed 1948 cricket team autographs on a bat. Now, if I've paid $6,000 for that, I'll get $50,000 for that. So I'll get reimbursed my $6,000 or whatever that's cost me.
And when you buy something, do you in your head know what you can get back on return?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, for that, you don't know if you can get 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, depends on what the bid is. But I mean, you know that if you've paid, 5 or 6 grand for a cricket bat and it's from an auction somewhere in England, fly it over here, and it'll go for serious money. And so then we auction it off, and the profit goes to the auction. That's really important. And then if you've got silent auction items, you might put 100 silent auction items out. There's things get donated for that, so you don't have to pay for anything for them, and they'll raise money for you.
It's fascinating. There's many different ways to generate an income through an event.
For charity.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been able to raise $40 million for charity. I've done over 200 charity events.
And when you want to run an event, you've got to build out a team. Do you have a team that you always rely on, or do you have to build a new team every time?
I used to have 5 staff. I was doing
just on events,
just for the events. I had a whole team. Right, I was doing 10, 15 events, 20 events a year. If I'm doing a national tour, we're going to do 5 events in a week. Right, so I'd have staff, and I'd have staff managers. And an overall person running the tours.
Because running an event is like starting a small business and then going out and executing on it, because it's different branding, different talks, everything. Was that a complicated process that you had to learn over?
I never thought of it as complicated at the
You're
time.
just doing it?
I look back on it now and think, wow, that was enormous. I just don't think of it that way anymore.
Have you always just backed yourself like that?
Yes, always.
Where do you think you got that from?
My dad. You take the risk.
Yeah.
I've taken risks in my life.
I suppose it is. I know firsthand, diving's a risk. You put your trust in your own hands and trust in your own training and abilities, and you go out there and give it a go.
Absolutely, and you should be very proud of yourself. The fact that at 22 years old, happy birthday for the 4th.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just over in Canada.
And it was, what was the 4th be with you?
May the 4th, yeah.
That was worldwide, wasn't it? May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
Yeah, it was. It was, yeah. So when you got to deal with someone like President Clinton and Secret Service, how do you work with the Secret Service while trying to still run your event?
They don't cost you anything, the Secret Service do, because they're sending I had 60 Secret Service agents in the country, dozen or whatever in each country, in each city, and staff to go with him, and that's a whole operation. Right? But I normally go on the road with them a week before, so I check out each capital city and see the staff in each town, and work through and spend a day with them working through what they're doing, and they're really professional. I mean, they're above professional. So but I always get on with people, I have fun with them, and go out drinking with them and all that sort of stuff. Because the week before doing the work, it's easy.
So you'd even have a few beers with the Secret Service before they were doing the job.
Of course, yeah.
So you got to know them.
Very much so.
All good guys.
Yeah, and in Melbourne, we had invited President Clinton to come down and do karaoke, because when we do a gig, we always go for karaoke afterwards.
Yeah. I know you love your singing; it would have been perfect.
Of course. Right? And on the that evening that we'd finished the show, called down to President Clinton and says, "Oh no," he said, "we're not coming down." It's okay. So we go into the karaoke room, and we got a couple of the Secret Service guys who are casual.
Are they allowed to have a few beers when they're on the job?
They were off the job then, so they're there. Anyway, then about 12:30, I get a call, and thank God I answered the phone. And it's President Clinton's right hand man said, "Oh look, we're coming down to
karaoke."
The karaoke. So I said, "Look, they're coming down. President Clinton's coming down." We had half a dozen or 10 staff there, or whatever. We were having fun, and the Secret Service guys who were with us said, "Oh, we can't be here because we can't be on socials when he's coming down." So they had to leave, but his whole official team came with him, who were working at the time, and he walked in, and we did songs with him.
Is Bill Clinton good at karaoke?
He's great at karaoke.
Is he?
Of course.
What was his favourite song?
His favourite song was a song which the Beatles released, which you've probably never heard of, right? There are places I have been to in my life. I've loved them all. So you can do more of that. But that was the song. And he did a few other songs as well. We did New York, New York, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Having to sing with Bill Clinton, probably not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
Very lucky. I was lucky that when I brought him again in 2006, we did 3 functions in 3 days in Sydney, Melbourne, and Auckland, and I'd flown on the private jet with him from Melbourne to Auckland, and we're there at midnight or whatever, something like that, and he all the staff are going to their rooms, so I walked with President Clinton to look after him in his room.
Does the Secret Service stand outside his room all night?
They do, once they've got settled in.
Okay.
I mean, yes, is the answer.
Wow.
Right? And so I'm in there with his room, and he started playing, because the hotel had put on a beautiful something for him to play. So he started playing for me. Wow. Some song from...
A talented man.
Talented man. I can't play.
So when you're on the road with a high-profile president or celebrity, when they're working, they're working. When they're not working, you still need to look after them because you're hosting them. How do you go about that?
Play golf. Not very good, right? But, we go out and go on the golf course. Meals with them. And have fun, literally. Yeah, I mean, first you're just very businesslike, but then if you work together for a week, there's a relaxation side of it. Yeah.
And then bringing out Nelson Mandela to Australia, how'd you pull that one off?
There was a guy who he ran a
Is this a funny story?
It is to me, right? But he ran a place in Sydney, which was like a club. It was a bar club, and it had a sports bar, right? Basically, it was a sports bar. And we used to have, I put celebrities on each week, right? So he rings me one day and says, "Do you want Nelson Mandela?" And I said, "Yeah, is he going to be a celebrity in the bar?"
So he was bringing Nelson Mandela.
No.
Okay.
He was bringing. He said he could get me Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
And so I wrote 2000. I write a firm offer for $1 million US for him to come and do some speaking engagements. And then and that was in about April, and it gets to the end of July, and all of a sudden, Mandela gets announced that he's coming for some university. And I said, I'll ring my mate up. I said, "Where's my $1 million? Why aren't I doing this?" So he contacts his father, who was friends with Mandela, back in South Africa. Father speaks to Mandela, comes back, apologises that he's got to do these other engagements, but he'd happily do mine for free. So
what?
I've got 3 engagements. One is lunchtime, 12 o'clock lunch.
But he didn't charge you for the event?
No.
Wow. That is incredible. So you'd sent a check. He actually didn't even see it.
I didn't send the check. I sent the official order.
Okay.
I said, "Look, I've given an order, $1 million, I'll pay you." Yeah.
It's amazing like what can happen if you just have a go.
It is, isn't it? It's great.
And you were able to pull off the events, which were massively successful. Yeah. And did Packer, did they pay for the whole thing?
No, I sold the tickets for $25,000 each.
Yep.
And
how old is James here?
Then he's about 30 odd, something like that.
We got Nelson Mandela and James Packer on the right.
Yeah. And that's my friend.
Which one?
Then in the middle's my friend. Right?
He's got the best seat in the house, actually.
Well, yeah. Well, he organised Nelson Mandela.
Oh, okay. He's the one with the bars.
Yeah.
How crazy! Wow. What about dealing with Kerry? Did you work much with Kerry?
No.
Okay.
He came to a couple of functions, but I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you give that money to charity, and then because it's your time and effort and work,
I get paid a fee.
Okay.
I get paid a fee.
Like a percentage of what's raised?
You know, I used to work off a percentage. Then I worked off just $50,000 cash, or not cash, but $50,000 fee.
Wow. And you've also worked with Kim Kardashian over in America.
Kim Kardashian. So we did, it was for Michael Hill Jewelers, who are a big company in Australia and New Zealand, public company. And they've also got over 50 stores in Canada. So, and at the time they had 15 stores in in Chicago. And so we did an event with Kim Kardashian, and it was just going to be one function in New York to launch the fact that they were giving away a 22-carat diamond ring to the world's best couple. And then because they suddenly realised that Kim Kardashian was a big name, right, so we added on Toronto and Chicago. And so we did 3 events for about $200,000 or something like that, or $225,000. And then we brought her back again to the winners in December of that year, and did an event again in New York City.
And she was very professional?
She was fantastic. More than professional, over professional.
Wow.
She was there. I'm normally late, right? But that morning we had the agent in town, and so I'm sitting with him and having a coffee. And next thing we hear, Kim's PR person said, "We're here." They're a half hour early, so we run back over from there. Fine, and we did the event. And she does something called step and repeat. And step and repeat is when you step, because for photos you turn all round, so you do photos for everybody in the line.
Wow.
So that, and because you've got a news conference with like 20 cameras across there, so everybody gets their own photo. So step and repeat.
Wow. That's it. That's incredible. And there is a very infamous person that you have managed, Corey Worthington.
My friend, Corey Worthington.
When he threw the party, I want to know, because you're into PR.
Yeah.
Were you part of planning that party for a PR stunt?
Nothing at all. I didn't even want to look after it. Like the next day, people rang me, and I even spoke to the Sydney Morning Herald at one stage and I said, look, I don't want to have anything to do with this guy. And then a couple of other mates of mine said, look, you've got to look after him. He needs looking after. And I finished up managing him. So, and we got him on Celebrity. It was Big Brother. And so I got him 50 grand for 10 days work. And
wow.
It was just loads of different things.
So did you manage him after he'd thrown his party, or was it before?
Afterwards. I didn't want to know about him. But anyway, I did. And I asked, he's only 16, so I asked his families if they were okay with it, so that but he was just he was a character.
What's he like as a person? Like what?
Nice guy. I had fun with him. Really had fun with him.
That's one. Did you ever think about maybe doing another party for similar publicity?
No.
Okay.
I think they might have thought about doing a 10 years party or something else, but never happened.
And when it comes to business, you're very skilled. What skills do you think are the most important for your line of work?
I think getting on with people, talking to people, understanding people, saying no if you can't do something, saying yes if you want to do something and you can do it, you really want to work hard for that person. Just talking. You've got to be able to talk to people and then I think understand them, listen to them. Listen to them is very important.
So when it comes to relating to people, listening, maybe the most important skill?
I think so. But you really have to listen to them and make sure that they're comfortable with working with you.
And when you come up with one of your bold, courageous ideas, how do you take action on that straight away? Some people have an idea and just let it dissipate or never persist on it. What's that process like for you?
I just do it.
Just have a go?
Yeah, just have a go. Yeah. And you've got to have fun. I really think it's important to enjoy what you're doing. So if you've got fun, have fun. Yeah. Really important.
Have you ever had someone tell you your idea is crazy or it wouldn't work and then you've gone out and done it?
I'm sure lots of times. Yeah. Because I am a bit crazy. That's what I am. Yeah.
Doesn't deter you or...
No, not at all. Not at all.
Just think as big as possible and then just go for it.
Yeah.
Make the call. Wow. Do you think it's still possible to run those successful events today when people are charging too high or more difficult?
I think anything's possible. Anything is possible. So you've just got to see the angle for it and see the reason for it, and you've got to you just have to work hard on it and make it happen.
When it comes to PR, we know that you've made a lot of people famous over the years.
Yeah.
What do you do when someone is infamous? How do you turn that around? How do you change someone's public image?
Protect them, look after them, advise them, give them positive, and make them feel positive. I think you've got to do that. And then it will all flow. So even if there's negativity there, you can turn it into positivity.
Yeah, I love it how you just spoke about that individual as an individual, just making sure that they are looked after. Like not necessarily just getting good PR, but actually being a good person. You're saying the rest will follow.
Yeah, I think that's what it's about. That's what it's all about.
And when it comes to getting PR these days,
yeah,
because I know Dick Smith had his publicity stunts and everything like that. What kind of strategies did you used to use to get big PR? And do you still use those same strategies today?
Look through Dick Smith's book, right? Because there's about half a dozen of my stunts that I worked with him on.
Really?
Yes, of course. From like mid-80s all the way through till 5 years ago. We're still doing stuff with him.
Did you work with him on the iceberg?
Didn't work on the iceberg.
Okay. Can you give me one where you did work together on a stunt?
Yeah, he wanted to do this stunt, which we did publicity on, and whereas people used to go in a bike and they jump over 20 cars, and then he did a stunt where he drove a bus over 6 bikes or whatever it was, right? And he did that, and I did the publicity for it. I mean, I've done so much publicity for him. I'm a big fan of Dick's. He really is smart. He's very smart, and I've enjoyed working with him. And funny enough, he reached out to me just 3 weeks ago to do another stunt. So if that happens,
What's he trying to do these days? He's still having a crack.
He's
top secret.
Top secret.
He's always given me the time of day and advised me when I was young. He's always been such a good man. I think he's such a great Australian. And he was saying that when he named his business Dick Smith Electronics, any PR stunts that you're talking about, it just helps his business grow massively.
Of course it does.
Such a good idea. When it came to the bus jumping stunt, because I've heard this one, it was massive. How'd you organise the PR for that event so it was an effective stunt?
We just did publicity. It wasn't. I don't think it's hard to get publicity for Dick Smith.
Okay.
So you just get issue the news releases out twice, 3 times, and then surround it so the media come on the day when it's happening, and do that. You just have to pick up the phone. I mean, that's really important. Pick up the telephone. I always say this. You can write news releases, but you have to pick the phone up.
Mm.
So I've got to ring Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, ABC, SBS, Sky. You have to pick the phone up. If you want the TV crews to come, you have to ask them. Not just ask, but you've got to give them the angle.
So how important are contacts in the industry?
Met Dick was we did a national tour, and we're promoting some book on Tasmania, and I had the deputy premier of Tasmania on the road with us. We had a beauty girl who was the fundraising or function manager and a Miss Australia sort of thing. She was on the road with us. We had a giant person who was dressed in a Tasmanian costume. And we also had, which was really important, a Tasmanian devil. And Dick wanted to come down to see when we were in Sydney, did a function, and Dick wanted to come down and see the Tasmanian devil. Because at the time, you were able to actually take it out because we had the guy who was looking after the Tasmanian devils on the road with us as well. So that was when I first met Dick.
And he actually had to change his public image a bit. He said once he did a lot of PR for Dick Smith Electronics, they started to assume any time he turned up, it was just for business PR. And then he started Australian Geographics for sustainability.
I launched that as well.
Did you? What was your involvement with the Australian Geographics?
He only wanted to travel for the one day each time. He wanted to come home each day. He wanted to fly down in the morning and fly back at night.
And he flies his own helicopter, right?
Well, he was catching planes then.
Okay.
Because of Sydney to Melbourne and Sydney to other places, right? And Brisbane and stuff. So he'd only do publicity for that one day. Each time he'd had to go to a city. So I remember he rings up me one day. He's in Melbourne, right? He said, "You'll have to ring the radio station. I'm running late." So that was Dick. I love Dick.
It sounds so fun. People lean on you to help them get past and achieve their goals. It must feel like a privileged position to be in, as well as being able to help these guys out when they're doing cool stuff.
Very much so, and I think as I said, I think I'm lucky. I really am lucky.
When Dick was changing his image and being more sustainable. Do you think he did a really good job at that with Australian Geographics?
Got a great story on Dick Smith. We had to launch a book for him, which was all about Australia. And so what we did, we had to do a launch for this book, and we did a live cross to the lunchtime show. We put Dick underwater, but not real water. It was the tank stream. So you went down into there was a lounge downstairs, right, at Australia House, and go under a tunnel, right, and it's the tank stream, and it's still there. And so he crossed live to the midday show, whatever it was called then, and did an interview. And
From the tank stream?
From the tank stream. It's just the piece of history that now we'll be looking at tank stream, that is part of it, as part of Australia.
And what did the tank stream do?
It was, first of all, when the 1770s and the first 50 years or whatever, the tank stream was a full stream. And then
under the city?
No, in the city.
Oh, okay.
It was part of the city. Oh. And then people started washing their clothes in it. Then they started go to the toilet in it. And then, of course, they put a bridge over it, which is Bridge Street, right? A bridge street over it.
Creative names.
And then it's obviously that had grown up over the years. But at the time, when you first discovered, before there was the Opera House and Circular Quay, right, down the tank stream came into the water. It was just a stream.
Yeah, what a good way to wrap history into his new books.
Yeah.
And what's for the future for you, Max? You love to work. You continue to work every day.
You know, people say to me, "What's your goal? And what's your ambition?" And I just want to keep going. And some people say to me, "Is there a way out?" And I say, "Death." That's where I'll go at the end.
Yeah, you enjoy what you do.
I do.
I feel my dad still builds, and he's like in his 60s, and he just does it because he likes to do it. It gives him purpose and drive, and keeps him sharp and nimble. So you find the same with your work?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you think less people will fully retire? I remember a lot of people work their whole life and then retire, but I feel like it's become more trendy and more people seeing that once you retire, you can degenerate like if you don't stay fit and healthy, you can lose muscle mass. If you don't use your brain, you can lose some brain capacity. Do you think this generation will try to continue doing something into their later lives? Also than others?
I would think so. I think it's if you stop, what are you going to do? I think you have to have fun and enjoy it.
You certainly do. Well, Max, I really appreciate your time today coming on. Those stories are fascinating. I could talk to you for hours, but I know my coach has got to get me back to training with our Olympic trials coming up.
You go and do your Olympic trials. That's more important.
Thank you very much. And congratulations with your recent success on the new shows coming out. And for anyone that hasn't checked out the book, On the Road with Bill Clinton, brilliant.
Good book.
Not too bad, this one, isn't it? Yeah, it's got some great photos. Well, Max, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.